Hi everyone, welcome to this conference call on how to cleanse and how to take advantage of this spring and how to reset after what has for most of us been a very, very long, hard winter. And after eating lots of heavy foods and pastas and grains and higher fat, higher protein foods to help give us the insulation that we need to endure this long winter, we then move into spring, and we're there. We're very close to the beginning of spring. I think many of us are beginning to feel it around the country, and the rules are dramatically changing. In nature, the deer this time of the year are digging up rhizomes. Rhizomes are surface roots. So when the ground softens and the roots start to try to make their way to the surface, the deer dig them up prematurely. And these very bitter roots, what they do is they have alkaloids that are very bitter that scrub the villi of the intestinal tract. Over the winter, the villi become very boggy, very congested, and as a result of the villi getting boggy and congested, we lose our ability to absorb nutrition. The good bugs sort of go south and the bad bugs begin to proliferate. So every year, nature makes sure that we do a great job in supporting the proliferation of brand spanking new, very healthy, diverse microbiology. That's the goal of the nature's job. Remember, we've written about this a lot. 90% of the cells in the human body are bugs, right? They're microbes. Only 10% of you is human. So really, when you really think about everything that we do, it has a lot to do with our ability to support our microbiology. Without good microbiology, we don't do well. It's really just that simple. They're finding out every week. I'm reading new articles about bugs. There's bugs that balance your blood sugar. There's bugs that support bone density, and maybe that's why folks in China who've never taken a calcium supplement in their life have naturally occurring bifidobacteria reuteri, which is a bug specifically for bone density. There's bugs for immunity. So many bugs. In fact, which we're going to talk about today a little bit, there's a bug called Clostridium butyricum, which is a microbe that literally makes ghee, clarified butter, in your intestinal tract. And as many of you know, Ayurvedically, we're all about having ghee to help your body cleanse. So very interesting, and brand new research is showing that our intestinal tract literally makes its own ghee. That's how much it likes ghee. So we're going to talk about how that works and why ghee is so valuable. And maybe they knew something thousands of years ago to have us be cleansing with ghee to detoxify. I just think it's absolutely fascinating. So we have a lot to talk about how to do that. I want to just and I wrote this article today in today's newsletter about how nature really accomplishes this. And if we would just do what nature does, which is Ayurveda, we would do so well with our ability to be great digesters and great detoxifiers. The deer chew on these very bitter roots, and they scrub their intestinal tract and clean all the villi from all the yuck and bad bacteria and undesirable bugs and yeast and things that proliferate during a long winter of a lot of heavy mucousy foods, which we need as insulating foods. Wheat, which is, of course, such a terrible thing, but it's a winter grain. It's a heavy glutinous grain, and it supports the health of there's proteins in gluten that are extracted and used to make people's skin look radiant. So is wheat really that bad? I am not a big believer that wheat has all of a sudden been the worst food on the planet. I think we have lost our ability to digest hard to digest foods as a culture, and that requires us to have good digestion, to digest gluten, as well as the casein in dairy. And that's something that we do as part of a cleanses reset digestion, right? It makes perfect sense. How are you going to be a really good digester or detoxifier if you're not a good digester? To think about it for a second. When you eat food or inhale toxins or swallow something that's toxic, it's your digestive system that provides the detoxification. If you are not a good digester, you're not going to be a great detoxifier. One of the reasons why it's so critically important as we design a cleanse to reset digestive strength. If your digestive system goes down and you don't digest wheat and dairy well, you don't do greasy fried food well, what's going to happen is you're not going to digest those foods. And you're just going to say, well, I just don't eat wheat, I don't eat dairy, I don't eat greasy fried food. And that's completely fine. There's no requirement for any of us to eat those foods to be healthy, not at all. They are more than anything else a signpost, plus maybe they taste good, but more than anything else, they're a signpost to see if you have the ability to detoxify well. Because if you can't digest the protein in gluten or digest the protein from dairy, the casein, if you can't break down greasy fried foods the way you did when you were 18 years old, you've lost your digestive strength. So what do you do with the mercury that's on all the organic spinach all over America? There's coal mine clouds, plumes that cover all of America with mercury. And we can't power wash it off. It's everywhere. So when you're eating your organic salad, you're ingesting mercury. So what happens with the mercury? We ingest it. We have to be able to break it down and detoxify it. Fat-soluble toxins are our nemesis. We do, however, with good digestive strength, have the ability to digest hard-to-digest fatty substances like pesticides, preservatives, heavy metals, parasites, all chemicals, environmental pollutants. These are all very hard to digest chemicals that pervade our environment. And there's things that we need to do and learn to do to become better digesters so we can process those as well. So the signpost is, if you don't digest well, don't just change your diet. You can change your diet, but don't finish. You need to finish the job. And that means to reset digestive strength. Plus, if your liver is congested, oh my God, it's sort of boggy, and the liver is pushing all the impurities into the fat because it doesn't know what to do with them, right? And then we go in there and just pull out all the toxins from the liver, do a detox without resetting digestive strength. The liver is going to be like, or why are you pulling all these toxins out of my fat? Because I put those to get rid of them because I was too busy, I couldn't handle it. So now all this fat-soluble toxins, environmental pollutants, pesticides, preservatives, they're all in my liver. They're in my bloodstream, and I want them out of here. So it's so critically important before we cleanse the body that we do some digestive resetting. And, of course, I want to talk about that today. And that's the whole point of Ayurvedic cleansing. It had a little bit more logic and insight to it than just going out there and doing the detox. It's very, very important to understand that. And, again, nature did this all by its wonderful self. So nature, after the deer got the bitter roots, and those are dandelion greens that are on your lawn this time of the year that you can be digging up. You may already be beginning to see many greens that are all over your yard and beginning in the fields. Those are, many of them are rhizomes. You can dig them up, throw them in a pot, make a tea out of them, and you can drink them as part of your liver cleansing, gut scrubbing benefits. So very, very important. Then soon, in a few weeks, we'll see that in a few weeks, we're going to see a fluorescent green take over the valleys. And they're loaded with chlorophyll-rich sprouts, sometimes with as much as 400 times the nutrition as a regular green plant, these green sprouts have. So they're really powerful. And when you eat them, they fertilize the good bacteria. Every plant that we have, every plant attracts a certain bug, a certain type of microbe, which is why it's so important that we eat organic foods, because non-organic foods have been, all the bugs, or many of the bugs, they can't kill all of them, are dead. And that's the problem with our microbial diversity. We have a situation where in the West, in America particularly, everything's sterile and we have no bugs. We have very poor microbial diversity. You go to Europe, they have so many more and diverse bugs than we do, which supports optimal health. They don't have the cardiovascular issues and the stroke issues that we have here. So it's very, very important that we eat organic because they're loaded with bugs. When you eat organic food, you guys don't realize it, but you're eating so many more bugs than you eat when you eat conventional, which is probably why you might think about maybe not wanting to eat all those bugs, but they're actually good for you. And every different plant actually attracts different microbes that have different function. And the greens, the fluorescent greens, have the chlorophyll to really allow the good bugs to be fertilized and to populate and to proliferate in your intestinal tract. So it's extremely critical, very, very important to understand that. So that's what the greens do come early spring, so we've really got to eat them. And if we've had enough meat and heavy foods in the winter, we're sort of ready for spinach salad, aren't we? Ready to really ingest a significant amount of those foods. Then, almost like as on cute, the berries begin to be harvested in the late spring. Cherries being the last sort of berry of spring. It's sort of half berry, half fruit. It acts like a fruit because it hangs off a tree, but it actually functions like a berry. Has polyphenols and paranthocyanins that actually are powerful antioxidants that really move your lymphatic system. And here's your intestinal tract. On the outside of your gut wall is a ridiculous amount of lymph. The vast majority of your lymph in your body is around your gut. Experts believe 80% of your immune system lies in that relationship between the villi on the inside and the lymph on the outside. I wrote an article called The Most Important Half Inch in Your Body, and that half inch is so critical because that's where your immune system really begins and ends in the efficiency and the function of the villi and the lymph around your gut, what's called the gut-associated lymph. And then if that gets yucky and gets congested, the toxins, instead of going into the lymph and getting attacked by white blood cells and neutralized, goes into your lymph and creates congestion and tiredness and lethargy and swelling and holding on to water and acne and skin breaking out and rashes and hypersensitivity reactions to food and to pollens and airborne irritants. A host of lymphatic congestive issues happen. Those toxins default back to your liver. Your liver's going like, you got to be kidding me, right? Like I need this like a hole in the head. But that's where it all goes, back to your liver. Your liver goes, I can't do this. So it puts it into your blood, and the blood puts it into your fat, and that's where it stays until you go do a detox, and now all of a sudden it's all back in your liver, and your liver's going, I don't know what to do with it. So we must make sure your liver can actually do the detox if we're going to do one. And that's all part of the preparation. So the liver, when it gets congested, it can't do its job. The bile becomes thicker. When the bile becomes thick, it doesn't emulsify fats. So you don't break down fatty toxins anymore. You don't detoxify well. That's it. It's simple. It's over. Your bile regulates your poop. How quickly you go to the bathroom, how often you go to the bathroom, how completely you go to the bathroom is regulated by your bile. I'm realizing this is a very long lecture, and there's so much to tell you about what happens when your liver gets congested. The bile gets thick, and you can't digest fast. The bile, stay with me here, and there's so many videos to go back and to really hear this again and again and again, because it's so critical. When the bile is not efficient, as thick and viscous, which happens in almost every American, the stomach acid will not be neutralized or buffered by the bile. So the acid will stay in the stomach and cause heartburn. Over time, the stomach will go, you know what, there's just not enough bile down there to neutralize all this acid. So I have to hold on to the acid causing heartburn, or the stomach just dials down the digestive fire and you lose the ability to digest hard to digest stuff like wheat and dairy, which require, they're proteins, they require a very strong digestive acid. And if that got dialed down because your liver got congested, because your bile got thick, because you're under a ton of stress, that gets plowed away through your gut because we process all that stress through your intestinal tract. That's how we handle our stress. You with me? You get stressed out. The stress hits your gut. The gut bugs go south. The good guys go south. They don't make the neurotransmitters. And they make, by the way, 95% of your serotonin is in your intestinal tract. 95%. So if you're under a lot of stress and those good bugs go south, you don't make the serotonin. You don't handle your mood well. You're not happy anymore. That causes inflammation. Your lymph gets congested. The toxins default back to your liver. The bile gets thick. The bile can't emulsify the acids, can't buffer the acids. So your stomach either gets hot and heartburn, or you dial down the fire, and now you can't digest. So that's what happens, in a nutshell, why we need to do a cleanse, why we need to reset digestive function and make you a better detoxifier. Once we do that, then we can go to those fat cells and pull all the yuck out of the fat cells because they're waiting, the liver is happy, it's the bile's flowing, and all that can happen wonderfully. Now, real quick, we have had a little problem in the last 50 years, 30 years maybe. We have been told that fats are bad. We've also been told that, at the same time, in 1980, we started subsidizing the growing of wheat and corn to feed America for real cheap. And now it's, you can feed them for pennies on the dollar. And it worked. Everybody has a lot of food. The 2 million-year-old problem, which was that we suffered with and genetically adapted to for 2 million years, was to figure out a way to get fat, to figure out a way to store fat, so we didn't starve to death. That's what our genetics have been trying to do for 2 million years, store fat so we could survive. The last 50 years, we figured it out. We have stopped giving ourselves good fats as a source of fuel, and we give ourselves lots of carbohydrates. So the premise of this cleanse I want to talk to you about here in a minute is to reset fat metabolism. If you're not a good fat burner, you're going to get fat. You're not going to be calm. Fat is calm fuel, stable fuel, long-lasting fuel, sleep through the night fuel. It's non-emergency fuel. It's the fuel we want to burn. Hunter-gatherers had significantly more fat in their diet than we do. Hunter-gatherers had about 5 times as much fiber in their diet as we do. Now, why all that? When you have a lot of fat in your diet, you make a lot of bile. Bile is like a Pac-Man. It's your detoxifier. It's Pac-Manning in your liver toxic chemicals, Pac-Manning cholesterols, heavy metals, weird stuff that your liver doesn't want to have. And it grabs onto it, and you eat some fatty food, it gets into that, all that bile gets shunted into your small intestine, where it continues to Pac-Man heavy metals and toxins and cholesterol in your intestinal tract. If you have enough fiber, that fiber will attach to the bile and take all the bile and the toxins to the toilet. But we don't get enough fiber. Hunter-gatherers got 100 grams of fiber per day. We get 20 if we're lucky. That means that, in studies show, that 94% of the bile gets reabsorbed back to the liver. Now the liver's going like, what? Why is all this stuff back? With the toxins in tow, the liver is completely congested with all this toxic bile. It gets dumped into your bloodstream, into your arteries. I mean, bad things happen. When the bad cholesterol, which was earmarked for elimination, is now back in your liver and your blood and your heart, we don't really want that. Here's what's worse. If we have a low-fat diet, and we were told for the last 30 years that fats are bad, and because the fats we had for the last 30 years are bad, they're processed, cooked, deodorized, terrible fats that we can't digest. So we've been eating sugars, which we also are not genetically wired to process. So we have not the fats that we really need as a source of fuel, and overshot the runway with carbohydrates, right? So what happens is if you don't have a lot of fat, you don't make bile. If you don't make enough bile, then the same bile, Pac-Manning bile with all the toxins in tow, will get reabsorbed back to the liver, into the intestinal tract, back to the liver, into the intestinal tract, Pac-Manning along the way, up to 17 times before it finally gets discarded. That's like washing your dishes in the same dirty dishwash water 17 days in a row before you get new water. That's why we need a detox. We need a detox to reset bile flow. We need a detox to cleanse the liver, so the liver can take the stuff that it had to store in the fat cells and pull it out and get rid of it. And produce more bile, so the stomach, we can turn it on and make the acid that you need to cook wheat and dairy, so you don't have to be avoiding them like the plague for the rest of your life. Doesn't mean that we should eat it every single day. We definitely went overboard. The wheat, is hybridized to be grown like 4 times a year, which is not how it was originally. There are issues with dairy as well, and do issues with wheat, but wheat by nature is a digestible protein if you have a good digestive fire, and it's really important that we get that. So how do we do that? Well, this cleanse that I want to talk to you about is called the Short Home Cleanse. And it's very simple. It's 4 days, a 4-day simple cleanse. And if you go to my website, there's an ebook we have. It's called the Short Home Cleanse ebook, and it's about I think like a 40-page manual, really, that tells you how to do the short home cleanse for free. And a lot of what I'm going to tell you about is actually in this ebook, and it's really, I just think, a great gift for you to learn about how to do a cleanse easy, and you can go back and really listen after we talk about it today, why that's so critically important. There's herbs that I talk about that are the digestive reset herbs, and of course we have herbs that we sell, but we also have in the ebook herbs you can go to your local health food store and basically do the cleanse without buying anything from us. It's absolutely a free gift that you can use, and it's a great cleanse and a great, quick, short 4-day cleanse if you want to get started. Here is how it works. We start each morning by taking ghee, clarified butter. Okay, every morning you take a little bit of ghee. Now the tricky part, and the only golden rule with your diet, although there's many refinements of this dietary plan, but the golden rule is no fat for these 4 days. That's it. Now you could just go to Chipotle and get black beans and some rice and eat that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and do the ghee in the morning. You'd be fine. You have a great cleanse. Okay, and we refine that, of course. But well, the point is that you can go and get non-fat foods, today while you're out and about. This is an out and about cleanse program. The ghee, when you take it in the morning, you take the ghee, and that forces your body to burn fat because it is fat, right? Ghee is clarified butter. So if you take butter without salt in it and you boil it, all the milk solids boil off. They just keep skimming off all this milk solid. All the dairy gets boiled off until you're left with just the oil, what's called the butyric acid. Butter has the highest concentration of a fatty acid called butyric acid of any food source on the planet. Ghee is a concentrated version of butter. So if butter has the highest concentration of butyric acid, then ghee is 3 or 4 times that. And butyric acid, butter got its name from butyric acid. That's how it got its name. Butyric acid is one of the major fatty acids that our intestinal tract needs to survive. The colon cells use ghee or butyric acid as their major source of fuel. They support immunity in a very powerful way. They directly feed into function and support the function of the killer T cells in the intestinal tract. They support the proliferation of the good microbes that do the heavy lifting for almost all of our physiological functions. I mean, our body makes a significant amount of its own butyric acid. There's a handful of bugs that do it. One, the Clostridium butyricum is one of the major ones, but there are other bugs that make butyric acid as well. So it's not just one bug. They have a whole team of bugs, different strains, that are doing this. So there's something really special about why ghee is so critical in the intestinal tract. I got an email today, I think, that said something like, well, why do we need to take it if we make our own? And I thought that was a good question. And the reason is because in America, we have a sterile environment. All the foods are if they're not conventional, they're scrubbed and cleaned and power washed and cleaned so there's no bugs on them. Everything is sterile. Our cheese is sterile. Everything that's supposed to have bugs on them doesn't have bugs on them. We have antibiotics that we take maybe throughout our life here and there to basically take out the bugs and have to start from scratch. Our soils don't have microbes in it because of the fertilizers and pesticides. We are starving for our bugs, really. So, and the bugs are the ones that make the butyric acid. So we need to feed those bugs with the ghee, which they feed on. Your bugs feed on fiber and fat. So that's why having more fiber, vegetables in your diet, and fat is so critical. And ghee is one of the best fats. It's loaded with omega-3s. It's loaded with CLA, all your vitamins, your fat soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. It's got, of course, the highest concentration of butyric acid. So just a really interesting, fascinating substance, the ghee, to support the health of your intestinal tract, therefore the health of your bugs, therefore the production of your neurotransmitters, therefore the health of your immune system, and on and on and on, really, really reaching to pretty much every one of our physiological functions. All right. So we take the ghee in the morning, first thing in the morning, 2 teaspoons to start with, the first one. And then you have a no-fat diet. If you had any fat during the day, you would just burn the dietary fat. If you have no fat during the day, you will continue to burn your own fat. And that's what we want. We want your body to burn your own fat. So, and the reason why we want you to burn your own fat is because fat's the calm fuel, stable fuel. That's critical. Fat is also where we store all our toxins. So we need to help the body be a better fat burner, to be calm, to help get the body to be able to, start to burn the toxins. The other reason we want to burn fat is so we can begin to make energy last. So you're not craving food all the time. If you're eating meal, snack, meal, snack, meal, snack, meal, snack all day long, the body just burns the meal and the snack and the meal and the snack and the meal and the snack. And you never get a chance to burn your fat. If you want to be a good fat burner, and you do, by the way, you got to give the body a reason to burn fat. So we're going to ask you in this cleanse, eat 3 meals a day. Breakfast, nothing till lunch. Lunch, nothing till supper. Supper, nothing till breakfast. 3 meals a day. So in between each meal and all through the night, you burn your fat. If you have a snack between breakfast and lunch, you're going to burn the snack. It could be a carrot, which is not unhealthy. It's a healthy thing to eat. But you didn't burn your fat in between breakfast and lunch that day. You burned the carrot. So it's very important for us to realize that by giving the body just 3 meals a day, we're facilitating a natural state of fat burning. Studies have shown that ancient humans didn't just survive when they didn't get a lot of food. They thrived. Their cells, when they were starving, ramped up more energy. The cells lived significantly longer. It's a genetic encoding that we still have. So when we have a diet that we eat nibble, constantly feeding ourselves, we are never giving the body a chance to, number one, be a good fat burner. We're never giving the body a chance when it burns fat to think, uh-oh, I might not get any food for a while. Therefore, the cells genetically amp up, become able to function better, produce more energy, and live longer. And that is well documented by some new research on the genetic side of things, but also well documented from the point of view of a diet called calorie restriction diets, are off the charts. The best diets we can eat for blood pressure, for blood sugar issues, which of course are epidemic, the best diets from a point of view of longevity and supporting optimal health. There's just no doubt about that. We eat too much food. That's the bottom line. And the reason we eat too much food is because we stink at digesting. If you digested efficiently, you would be satisfied. But if you don't have good digestion, you're not satisfied. And the number one primary satisfying food is fat. So when you have the ghee in the morning, you're going to be satisfied. And if you have no fat during the day, you're going to feel the benefits of that by having no hunger. So the ghee will facilitate fat metabolism. It actually will give you the ability to make energy last, and your hunger will begin to abate. That's the kind of the classic thing that happens, which is really interesting. We got invited. I was interviewed by Women's World magazine a couple of months ago, and they wanted me to give them a cleanse that they could write about. So we printed this out for them and sent them the Short Home Cleanse ebook. And I didn't hear back from them for like 3 or 4 months. And then I heard back, and they said that they got the cleanse book, and they basically had a group of their readers, like a little focus group of their readers, do the cleanse verbatim from the ebook that I sent them. And they had people, they did this cleanse, and they said the results were overwhelming. They said it was so incredible. We're going to do a whole story on the Short Home Cleanse, which comes out, I think, early April. So look on your magazine in the grocery store. It's Women's World magazine. There'll be an article early April about the Short Home Cleanse. But the point being, just right off the rack, they did the cleanse with no education, and Women's World was blown away. They said, we were just blown away by the results. It's not, let me say, it's based on solid logic. It's based on thousands of years of trial and error. They figured some things out thousands of years ago, and they still make sense. Like taking ghee into your intestinal tract. Who knew that our gut makes its own, right? So that's really important. The ghee also does other things. It's what we call an oleator. Oleates, it creates suppleness in your tissues. When you take ghee, it actually saturates your tissues and creates an oleation process, a saturation in your intestinal tract. And or in your intestinal tract as well as in your skin. Historically, when I first went to India many years ago, they said that when you take the ghee, that you should and when we do our Colorado cleanse, which is our 2-week version of this cleanse, you take 7 days of ghee, and they say when you push your skin, you should actually feel the ghee oozing out of your skin. I don't know if that's actually even possible, but it's fascinating to think that you could take that much ghee. Now, studies have shown that when you actually take ghee internally, it acts as a natural chelator. It has a lipophilic effect. Fat-soluble toxins, chemicals, environmental pollutants, pesticides, preservatives, they're all fat-soluble, and those are the ones that we don't do well with in terms of detox. We are really, really good at getting rid of water-soluble toxins, but lousy, or at least it's a process to get the fat-soluble toxins to be converted to be water-soluble and then getting them out of the body. It's a bit of a challenge. So the ghee is what's called lipophilic. It attaches to those toxins and pulls them out. In one study, if you read on my website, on our research page called Research on Panchakarma, which is our in-house rejuvenation, retreat detox, heavy metals were pulled out of people's fat cells. Environmental pollutants like dioxins, even, that we had stopped using 30 years ago, were being pulled out of people's fat cells and continued to be pulled out of the fat cells for 3 months after the cleanse was done. So there's research that sort of backs this whole lipophilic effect. The oil pulling thing that we hear a lot about, of swishing your mouth with oil, it's not, a lot of people say it's the cure-all panacea for everything, but it is an oil puller. It does have lipophilic effect, and it will pull toxins, and it will scrub the bacteria and support healthy oral mucosa for sure. And there's good studies to back it up. But it's the same principle. The same principle when you put oil on your skin and massage your skin. It's the same exact principle. And in this cleanse, we have a cleanse kit. And in the cleanse kit, you get, sure if you get, but you definitely can get a bottle of oil. In the Colorado cleanse, we give you the oil. In this, we have a kit for the short home cleanse that we'll talk about here in a bit. But getting some oil and doing Ayurvedic massage on your skin is so incredibly valuable. We now know that the microbes on your skin feed on the oils that you put on your skin. There's sebum that your skin literally makes, which is an oil which your bugs feed off of. Wherever you have skin on the outside and on the inside, you have bugs, and they're doing the heavy lifting for your immune system. That's how they work. So thousands of years ago, they figured out that putting oil on your skin was a good thing to do every day. And that when you rub oil together with water, it makes soap, and you can clean yourself with it as well. And who knew, right? But we've been using soaps, harsh detergents to scrub our skin really super clean, again, to be sterile. And as a result, we've scrubbed off all the good oils on our skin, and therefore all the good bugs, they die off because they eat those oils. So putting oil on your skin as a part of a daily Ayurvedic massage, definitely during this cleanse, is a really great thing. I think it's a great thing to do every time you take a shower. Take a little bit of oil in your bathroom, in the shower. Don't necessarily have to do it on dry skin, because you use a ton of oil and you become very sticky and your towels start to stink and you'll get mad at me. But if you do it in the shower, it works just as good. Use a very small amount of oil, rub it all over your body like a lotion or a hand cream. I don't have any hair, so that makes it easy to do it on my head. And then you put that all over your body, and then you shower it off. You just wash it off or rinse off and pat yourself dry, and you're done. You can leave it on during the shower while you're getting hot, and then the oil will pull the impurities out of your skin. The same way the ghee is sort of pulling impurities off your intestinal tract. And the same way the ghee has that oleation effect where it penetrates into your tissues and has this sort of lipophilic pulling of toxins out of your system. So again, just pretty interesting and pretty fascinating. And then the other thing that the ghee does, which is really interesting, is it forces you to produce more bile. It helps you make more bile, and it helps the bile contract, or the gallbladder contract, so the bile can be ejected out of the gallbladder. We have this gallbladder sac, which is another very interesting thing. We've got a gallbladder, maybe it's about this big. It has bile in it that's stored at 15 times the concentration of the bile that you make in your liver. 15 times the concentration. People get their gallbladders taken out routinely in America, and they never change their diet. Nothing happens. They feel great. No problem. Why? We don't eat anywhere near the fats we were genetically wired to eat. Our energy, our satisfaction, our fuel supply was mostly fats. Carbohydrates too, but way more fats. When, if you're a hunter-gatherer and you kill a woolly mammoth, you're going to eat the organ meats first, and I would imagine that's a lot of fat in one sitting. And therefore, you need a gallbladder to contract and produce a ridiculous amount of bile. That's 15 times the concentration to emulsify that much fat in one sitting. And they didn't do that every day. I think it was like, once a week they got a woolly mammoth or something. But it wasn't like that fat every day. And they got a lot more exercise, and they didn't have as many processed carbs as us. So if you're going to be thinking about eating more fat on a regular basis or doing ghee a lot on a regular basis, think twice. Because you got to increase your exercise and you got to decrease your carbs because there's only two sources of fuel, sugar and fat. And if you have already a lot of sugar in your diet and you add fat, you're going to overshoot the energy budget and you're going to store it as fat. And it can congest your arteries and do bad things. So it's understanding that fat will provide a level of satiety that you won't want the carbohydrates. That's the key. And the other thing is that when you have a lot of fats in your diet, you have the ability to contract the gallbladder and get that thing moving again like it was designed. And fats regulate your stool. They regulate your buffering of the acid from your stomach. They allow your stomach fire to become really strong and cook a lot of food. These are all like really important things, right? And if we don't have that functioning, our digestive system goes south. And that's what we see epidemic in this country. People can't digest hard-to-digest stuff any longer. So that's what ghee does. It forces the gallbladder to contract. I think that's a fascinating piece of the puzzle. So what you do for the first 4 days is you have 2 teaspoons the first day, then 4, then 6, then 8. 2, 4, 6, 8 teaspoons of ghee first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. Shoot it down with some warm water. If you want to mix it with some almond milk or coconut milk or even cow's milk, if it's good quality, you can drink that down, and that will force your body into a fat metabolic state. And you'll stay in that for the 4 days, and you'll begin to notice with each day that your digestive cravings will become less and less and less. And that's what happens during the 4 days. During this time, you're on you're on a no-fat diet. That's the key. So you're going to be eating a no-fat diet during this time. So that's going to be really important. And now in the ebook, we have a series of diets that you can take. They're all no-fat during these 4 days. And the first one is the most austere, and it's called the Transform. And it's basically just having khichdi, which is a combination of rice and beans. Split yellow mung beans, which are mung beans that are split, and the husk falls off. And when the husk falls off, they are very easy to digest. The mung beans have been shown to balance blood sugar. They heal the gut. The bugs eat them. Like I've written some articles on mung beans. It's phenomenal. And when the husk is gone, they don't create any gas. The rice is long grain white rice, which is a much more stable rice for blood sugar. And it's combined with and the husk is also off of that, so it's, again, very easy to digest. The khichdi in India is baby food. It's the first food of the intestinal tract to heal the gut and prepare the gut for being able to be a good digester. So the Transform is using khichdi primarily and as the major source of food, and also adding some beets to that. Would be great in your diet, would be a great strategy. The second plan, this is all written in your booklet, and the second plan is the Rejuvenate plan. And that's where you have beans. Again, you can have khichdi or rice and beans, or really any rice and any bean combination with the beets and seasonal greens. Now, why beets? Why do we like beets so much? Beets are bile movers. So when you eat a beet a day during the cleanse, you're forcing the bile to move. The ghee is forcing the bile to move. It's thinning the bile. It's flushing the liver. The liver's going, whoa, this is great. I'm getting all this stuff out of here so we can begin to chelate the toxins out of the fat cells and do a thorough detox as well. Very, very important. So the Rejuvenate plan, a little bit easier. You have the beets, the beans, the rice. You also have the leafy greens. You can have vegetables in the diet as well. So that's really great. And then the last one is what's called the nourishing plan, and that has to do, that's rice and beans again. And again, you can use any bean that you like with rice, with vegetables, and it can be vegetables, soup, salad, fruit. It can be anything in seasonal vegetables. So you have lots. The only golden rule here is no fat. That's the key, a no-fat diet. You can also, if your blood sugar needs it, you can even add a little bit of lean meat. The most important thing when you go on this diet for these 4 days is you don't feel starving, that you're not, feeling dizzy or lethargic, or you should feel great because you're burning fat. If the body is giving you a hard time getting into fat burning, then we need to increase it from the transform plan, which is just Dietary only, to the regenerate plan or the rejuvenate plan, which is the beans and the rice and the vegetables and the beets, to the nourishing plan, which is basically anything that you want as long as there's no fat, including a little bit of lean meat. That's how simple it is. Really simple, and it works really, really well to make that happen. But if you crave anything and you're feeling like you need more food, then have a little lean meat in your Dietary or stir it up in your rice and beans. It's completely fine. The only golden rule, like I said in the very beginning, is no fat. That's the key. That's the critical piece. So that's what you eat. That's the ghee. The last piece of the puzzle is to do a cleanse, or a detox, where you actually do a final flush, where you do a laxative therapy, and that you can do that with a cup and a half of prune juice, and take that before you go to bed on the last day, and that flushes your intestinal tract out. So you do 4 days of ghee. First thing in the morning, 2, 4, 6, 8 teaspoons. On the evening of the 4th day, you clean your intestinal tract out with 1.5 cups of prune juice. You can also do 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt with a cup of water, and you can have a tablespoon of olive oil with a teaspoon of lemon juice, and you mix all that together, and then you and stir it all and drink it down, and that will create another laxative effect. And those recipes are all in the book as well. But that should give you your final flush, and the next day you're ready to go back into your program. The next couple of things I want to talk about is how we reset digestion, some of the strategies in that department. So hang on one second. I want to reach out and ask you for some questions. And so if anybody has any questions typed in, I have a couple here. Then I'll get somebody on the phone here in a minute. Can coffee drinkers go cold turkey when starting the cleanse? What to do about constipation during the cleanse, use of triphala? Yeah. So can coffee drinkers go cold turkey? Yeah, they can, unless you're really addicted and you know you're going to get a real severe headache and you want to cut back and go slow. But when you're burning fat, it's a stable source of fuel. You're not on the sugar or the caffeine high-low thing, so you're really resetting stability. So if there was a time to go cold turkey, it's now for sure. Absolutely. Constipation, I am a big fan of triphala to help tonify the bowel if you need a little bit of extra support there. Also, we have an herb called elim number 1, which is triphala with slippery elm, which slimes up the intestinal tract, makes it a little bit more slippery, and that can sometimes work a little bit better than the triphala. And so those two things can be used to help deal with constipation, which is not an uncommon problem, and that really means that your gut is dried out, which means that there's no good oils that are naturally occurring, which means there's no good bugs, which means there's no good neurotransmitters. All that begins to happen. So it is important to use triphala with the goal in mind that we want to get back to having really great regular bowel movements without the aid of some type of natural support. And triphala is natural support, way different than senna tea or Cascara sagrada, all these very powerful bowel irritants which create more dependency. Even magnesium over a long period of time can create a dependency, which you don't want to necessarily go into that. What is your view on cleansing for underweight plus very poor digestion despite most simple diet and the use of herbs? If you're underweight, then it's a kind of a case-by-case thing. Sometimes people underweight, they actually do need to cleanse because there's toxicity issues there. Sometimes people just need to rebuild first and then cleanse. If you do the nourishing plan, which includes meat and rice and beans and soup and salad and fruit during the cleanse, and you're just having no fat, you can stabilize your weight. You can even add a protein powder to the mix and stabilize your weight and still get the yucky stuff out of your fat cells to burn and decongest your liver, get your bile to work better so you can metabolize the fats, deliver the fats, and store weight with the fats. That's sort of the bit of the catch-22 that makes it difficult to figure out how and when do I cleanse and when I'm losing weight. So I can help you either with a consultation or we can help you with our customer service to help figure that out. But definitely, it means we need to support, most likely, the bile flow and the intestinal ability to absorb nutrition is really critical and key. Another question. Thanks in advance for this call. I'd like to know if it's an effective, if not detrimental, to do the cleanse while menstruating. Always better not to cleanse while you're menstruating because the body is moving waste out. So it's a time of the month where the body is more introspective and kind of low on energy. So you always want to choose to go away from your cleanse. However, it's very common that as you begin to support a cleanse and a downward moving detox, the body slips into a menstrual cycle a week or two early, which happens on a very regular basis. So it's fine if it starts happening, but I would always choose to cleanse around it. You'll have more energy, perhaps. Okay. My monthly cycle is erratic. I've been waiting for 2 weeks to do the short-term cleanse. Should I stop if it starts? No, you don't have to stop. Continue. You should be fine. Yeah, and we do have a customer service line that you can call and get some more questions answered. Another question: I'm experiencing vata imbalance, which means because of nervous system stress, I need to rebuild more than cleanse. Would you recommend adding spring roots, green sprouts, berries, and in a cooked or steamed form? I would absolutely recommend still eating seasonal food, but I would add other foods, heavier foods to that, so you didn't continue to lose weight. You have to add those calories if that's really important. One more question, then we'll go to some live calls here. If you're a Pitta type, fiery type, and told that you have a Pitta, that your Pitta and Vata are both way too high, out of whack, out of balance, can you risk overheating the liver by doing a detox yourself? Well, I don't know. I mean, some of the cleanses, I know, like the Master Cleanse is a cleanse that does a lot of cayenne pepper. That would be a cleanse that I wouldn't recommend for someone with a lot of Pitta because it's a hot person doing hot things, and detoxing is fat burning, and that burns hot too. So you start stacking a lot of spicy food on a hot body during a hot cleanse, yes. But the ghee is very cooling, it's very nurturing, and it doesn't generally cause that. In fact, it reduces Pitta. We get the body to move the waste out of the body. We get rid of heat by moving our bowels and getting the body to move the waste out. That's why when a young child has a fever, they get diarrhea. The diarrhea is the body's attempt to move heat out of the body. So that's what's happening there. Who's on the phone? If anybody has a question, you can push *2 on your phone, and I'd love to answer some of your questions, and then we'll get into some other things here in the final minutes. Okay, I've got Indianapolis. Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
I have a question. I had someone doing the short cleanse recently, and I told them they could eat some protein, but they said there's fat in that. And I said, well,
in the protein powder you got?
No, in like a piece of chicken or something.
Well, yeah, there is. But you want to get yes, there is fat. And when you need to get that protein, you're not going to get any protein with no fat. But a lean piece of chicken is about as close as you can get, and that'd be fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Good question. All right, another question in Raleigh, North Carolina. Are you there?
Yes.
Cool.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Good. What is your advice, let's say, if I chose to maybe get some massage each day and maybe take some steam each day during this process?
Absolutely. It's a great idea. In the book, we talk about doing daily massage with the oils, getting good exercise, getting a steam bath, getting a massage. People come here for Panchakarma, which we do 2.5 hours of massage with and steam with them every day while they're going through while they do something similar to the short home cleanse. So that's very, very appropriate. And if you have time to do that, that's ideal for sure. Absolutely great idea. Because you're going to detoxify not only through your intestinal tract, but through your skin too. Very important. Doing the oil massage and then going into a steam, letting the steam loosen things up, and then the oil pulling out of your fat cells. One of my favorite techniques is to go into a steam and put oil on your body and then let the oil pull, and at the very end, scrub real vigorously with a towel and exfoliate your skin with the oil on it, because that's pulling all the toxins through the surface layers of your skin. So yeah, you're absolutely right on there. Great question. Thank you. Next question. In Denver, Colorado. Are you there?
Hi. I think I'm Denver, Colorado.
You are.
Hello. I do have a couple questions. My first one is, what's your perspective on doing a fruit and vegetable cleanse? That sounds like it would be no fat, but maybe that would lead to lethargy or something like that. Do you think that doing just fruit and vegetable juice is going to be helpful in the end?
I think doing fruit and vegetable juice is a fine way to do a cleanse. It doesn't do the things that we're talking about doing, which the ghee provides. The ghee provides. I'm getting some feedback here, but the ghee provides that bile flow, heals the intestinal wall. The khichdi heals the intestinal wall. So there's benefits to healing the gut versus just scrubbing it. And we have this mindset in our culture just to scrub. You know what I mean? Just use fiber and vegetables and it's clean. And there's more to it than that. You want to clean, but you want to support the health and the microbes and the proliferation of them. And they want the fat to survive. So I would not say that doing a few days of juicing and vegetables wouldn't be good for you. I definitely wouldn't do that forever, but I think it'd be valuable. But the difference here is the reset of your digestive strength and your digestive function, and then we do the detox, and that's the difference. In the Colorado cleanse, which is our 2-week cleanse, kind of a blown-up version of this, we do a lot of vegetables in the beginning and the end of a 7-day ghee program. So we do 7 days of ghee, and then we have the 4 days of vegetables and a real whole food diet in the beginning and 3 days at the end. So we surround the ghee with a vegetable diet, and that's a great strategy as well. But I like it, but it's different, if that makes any sense. Do you kind of hear me? Okay, so I think I lost you. Next question, another one from Denver, Colorado. Are you there? This is Eco. Are you there? Denver?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So just 2 questions. One, do you have a variation of the cleanse for an individual who's had the gallbladder removed? And then the second question is, you didn't mention anything on water intake during this cleanse. Yeah,
and there's going to be definitely some things that I've left out here about this cleanse that I want you to read the ebook, because it's really comprehensive. One of which is water and hydration, which is on my list of things to accomplish here tonight, which is sipping hot water is a great lymphatic detoxifying cleanse technique where you sip little bits of hot water throughout the day. That's one thing during the 4 days. And then try to drink half of your ideal body weight in water per day. And you can do that about 20 minutes before the meal, and also you can do that in between meals. And if you have no gallbladder but you're doing pretty good, then you can do the cleanse, but just start with 1 teaspoon of the ghee and only increase it if you're feeling really comfortable. And you definitely, when you have no gallbladder, you still make bile. You just make it on demand. You're not storing the 15 times concentrate in your gallbladder any longer, but you still make good bile, and that's why it's so important to do a cleanse, so you get that liver to be decongested so you continue to make really, really good bile. So that's really important. Thanks for that.
Last part, do you address specifically the cleanse and with specific moderations or alterations for that individual without a gallbladder?
No. I mean, there are some caveats, and I just told you the main thing with the gallbladder is just what I just told you.
Okay. All right. I'll email you.
Then there's other rules, which are if you're not feeling well, you take less ghee, you take less herbs, and things like that. But that's pretty much it. Without a gallbladder, you can still do it if you're doing okay and you're not having major concerns when you have any fat at all. Then you can definitely do this. If you are having concerns, then I like to work with people, personally and can guide them through that process because that's important.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you. So a couple of more things about the cleanse. There are some herbs that we use to reset digestive strength, and like I said in the ebook, there is some alternatives that you can go to the health food store and get. One of them is turmeric. Turmeric is an herb that is phenomenal for healing the intestinal tract, for increasing bile flow, for supporting liver function. It's a natural detoxifier and a natural rejuvenative. When you combine turmeric, it's really interesting, 16 parts turmeric to 1 part black pepper, you increase its absorption rate by 2,000%, which is a crazy number. And that research about 10 years ago spawned so much research on turmeric that now they're finding that certain turmeric extracts can actually outperform some of the chemotherapy drugs. So it's very, very powerful stuff. And the turmeric is so good for healing the gut. So we use that after the cleanse. There's an herb that I love called mangista, which is a lymphatic mover. And it's a decongester for your lymph. So remember, we talked about in the beginning, lymph and liver are your two main detox channels. So the mangista for your lymphatic system, which is Ayurveda's classic lymphatic moving herb, and the turmeric. And you take one of each of those 3 times a day after each meal. Now, if you're feeling a little like maybe it's too much, the way you dial down the intensity of the cleanse is just to take one of those herbs after your main meal, or don't even take them. But you have to kind of begin to get a sense of where you are and how intense you can make the cleanse by increasing the dose of the herbs. Another herb called warm digest, which is an herb that we use to turn on the digestive fire. Remember, we talked about when the bile isn't moving, the digestive fire ultimately goes out. So we're going to increase the bile with beets, we're going to increase the bile with ghee, but we also want to then turn the digestive fire back on. That's really critically important as well. And so those are the 3 herbs that we provide with the cleanse. If you have acid reflux issues or any acid, we have an herb called Cool Digest, and you make that determination based on if you have any acid at all. Just go with the Cool Digest. If you don't, go with the Warm Digest. We have a little kit that we provide, which is the 6 packages of the organic kitchery, which is quite hard to find, actually, with the ghee, with the 3 herbs, and that's a kit that you can buy on our website at LifeSpa.com, and then we have just the herbs for, I think the whole complete kit's $109, and the simple herb kit's just $49. So it's a really fantastic deal when you get all that for to do a whole cleanse for $100 with everything included, even your food for 4 days. It's a pretty amazing deal. So and it's just a nice way to go. And then you can do just the herbs for $49. So that's great. So that's how that works. Go to the website. You can learn more about that. Other things that I talk about that are very important are exercise and meditation and yoga and breathing. This cleanse is designed to be sort of the in-gear working cleanse, so you can do a lot while you're cleansing. But so not everybody has the time to do all that, but you can still get a good cleanse done. But if you have the time to get regular exercise or the steam and the massage, like the gentleman said, which is so great, I think it's fantastic. And I talk more about how to do those in the ebook. And then, of course, we have our big event coming up here at the end of April called the Colorado Cleanse, which is a 2-week version of this. Like I said, it's 4 days of a digestive reset, 7 days of the ghee, and 3 days of a digestive reset at the end with a whole food diet, lots of vegetables and fruit in the very beginning and at the end. So it's a completely different diet. There's more herbs, more powerful herbs to reset digestive strength, and that's the Colorado Cleanse. And we do that twice a year as a group where people can come together and and do it. We have sometimes up to 800 people doing it from all over the world, and that comes with support. You get an online forum where you can communicate with people from all over the world. You get emails from me every morning about what to do, so we spoon feed it. You get a book that tells you how to do it. There's a whole kit that comes with it. You get online conference calls, online question and answer sessions, so we provide tons of support so you feel like you're cleansing with a group. You don't feel like you're home alone just cleansing, which sometimes it feels a little lonely. And also, you have questions. You have a really great way to just get all your questions answered right away. And that's the Colorado Cleanse. And you can do that one anytime that you like, but twice a year we do it as a group, and that's coming up here the end of April. And our early bird special, which is a screaming discount for the kit, which includes all your food for 7 days, ends on Thursday. So be aware of that if you want to do something a little more aggressive than just the 4-day. The 4-day short-term cleanse, fantastic to do when you just want to do a quick Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, get reset, lose some weight. We have people losing 7 to 17 pounds during the Colorado cleanse and up to 10 pounds during the 4-day cleanse. So it's powerful and not that hard to do just the 4-day cleanse. We also have the emotional freedom cleanse, the lighten up cleanse, which is another 4-day cleanse with videos structured to take you through an emotional process. And something that I didn't mention that I think is worth mentioning is when you burn fat, you release toxins, of course, but you also release molecules of emotion. And if Ayurveda was about anything, it's about, Ayur means life and Veda means truth. It's about letting the truth of your life out. And that's what the Panchakarma is about, and that's what the Lighten Up Cleanse is about. It's about letting the truth of you out. And that we have toxic molecules of emotion that we created as young children that we store in our fat cells. And those emotions remotely make us think and do the same dumb stuff again and again and again in our lives. And that is something that we continue to project those patterns of behavior on the screen as adults. And the idea from the Ayurvedic perspective is to help the body become less dense physically, more clear mentally and emotionally, so we can become more aware of what our crazy mind has conjured up, and then take transformational action steps to free ourselves from those old patterns of behavior that are simply not serving us. So when I talk about this 4-day cleanse or the 2-week cleanse, there's an opportunity here that exists when you burn fat to make deep transformational change on the level of old emotional patterns of behavior that might be really undermining your happiness in your life. You're dealing with your family members or your spouse, partners, can be really uncomfortable if you're coming from a place of stress. And these molecules of emotion are actually very real. It's not like just Ayurvedic, ooga booga. It's a very real thing. The National Institutes of Health have found that there are molecules of emotion, and they're carried by little proteins all over your body. And they exist all over your body, in your brain, in your lungs, in your belly, your intestinal tract, in your skin, and your spine are the most concentrated areas of the receptors for these emotions. They found that those receptors, which I think is really interesting, are also used by your immune system, by your psychology, by your endocrine system, which is all your hormones, as well as your entire nervous system. So what they said at the NIH was that this is not just molecules of emotion, it's an information network. And when you have, and their takeaway was, which I thought was fascinating, was if you have a blocked emotion, that it'll block the flow of this information network and affect your endocrinology, your hormones, affect your immune system, affect your psychology as well as your nervous system, and literally cause disease, was the takeaway from that research at NIH. That's pretty fascinating because in Ayurveda they said thousands of years ago that if you have a blocked emotion, it's called mental ama, it'll block the flow of the subtle energy in the body and literally cause disease. So these cleanses are all about getting digestion reset so you can enjoy your life and digest good, not have pain in your belly and gain weight and all that, for sure. But the side benefit is that you begin to become more self-aware, more aware of what this crazy mind is doing, more aware of the patterns of behavior that are the stress that are pounding away at your gut, taking out your good bugs, taking out your neurotransmitters, and making your life miserable. And that's the comprehensive approach, in addition to resetting your digestive strength, so you can go have, some sourdough toast or something again, and not be off wheat and dairy for the rest of your life. It's a beautiful, comprehensive system that's well thought out. And I think when you begin to realize that it's this crazy mind of ours that's causing most of our problems, because this thing is what takes out our gut. That's the thing we have to be looking at, on a regular basis. And sometimes those emotions are just hard to get to because they're not in our mind anymore. We created them in our mind, that's for sure, but we stored them in our fat. And we can't change our mind because they're not there. We have to release them out of the fat. So another reason why this whole thing's premised on being a good fat burner. If you did just a vegetable cleanse, you would have some incredible cleansing benefits. But the ghee forces your body into fat metabolism. It forces the proliferation of your good microbes. It strengthens and supports the function of your gallbladder, so you become a good fat digester to deliver good fats, which are for stable mood, wonderful skin, and also for the ability to for your ability to move the bile and help the bile make you not only burn fat but detoxify, to deliver good fats, but also to detoxify the bad fats. And that's really critically important. Okay, well, I think I went over by about 10 minutes. Sorry to keep you all, but thank you for listening. We've got some other calls coming up here. Next, I think on the 24th. It's called Fad-Free Diets. It's Eat Fad-Free, which is how to eat without all the fads. I'm going to go really deeply into diets. I think it's going to be a fascinating call. Then in a couple of weeks, we're going to do a whole question and answer session, just question and answers about the Colorado Cleanse. So if you have any questions about the Colorado Cleanse or even this cleanse, please feel free to join us. It's all free. Thank you for joining us tonight, and I hope you guys enjoy this cleanse.